You're enjoying Racing World. It's brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your global motorsport podcast show brought to you in conjunction with Race Control magazine.
Well, hello and welcome to a very special edition of Racing World. It's time for coffee and it's time for the Indy 500. Here we are at the final qualifying day for this year's 107th running of the Indy 500 presented by Gamebridge. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot to play for. As many of you know, we're up here at the moment working on a documentary series, or a documentary exclusively for Sky Sport New Zealand called Kiwis Born to Fly. And that's largely what we're going to touch on in this, plus the events that we've seen in the last week that we've been up here. So kicking it all off, over a week ago, the GMR Grand Prix, seeing Marcus Armstrong out on track for the first time in the flesh. And boy, oh boy, I have to say, New Zealand, that was very, very, very impressive. He was very strong in qualifying. Sure, the race result didn't maybe portray what we thought it was going to, but he is very comfortable in that team, and the team are very happy with him. So Armstrong is certainly one to watch in the future. As for the other categories, Christchurch's Jacob Douglas, well, he had a bit of a mixed bag weekend in USF, but again, it's part of the learning process, and some of those things, as I've said so many times on this show, are about the controllables and the things that you can control, and some of those he just simply couldn't control. But Jacob is still talent of the future, and it's one that we should proudly support as the very youngest Kiwi that's up here at the moment. Then of course there's my old mate the McElrays. Both Andy and Hunter were here, Andy being the proud dad, sponsor, and of course, most of all, just enthusiastic about seeing his son out there on track, but standing back and letting the team do its own thing. As he rightfully said, it's not his gig anymore. He's got his Porsche program in North America and Australia to worry about. Hunter matured so much as a driver, second year in Indy Next, now formerly known as Indy Lights. Did a great job, very comfortable front row qualifying position, got shuffled out a little bit in the race for Indy Next. But he's in the game. He knows that this is a long game. He also knows that after this event, or after that event, leading into the doubleheader at Detroit in a week's time, it's just a big season ahead. So he knows how to play this game now, very well matured at that. And again, we wish Hunter all the very best. He's put in the efforts. Boy, oh boy, though, I have to say, standing next to him the other day, as he grown, he is really tall to fit in one of those single-seater cars. So, go Hunter, that's all I can say. Very proud to see him on the mural of the We Are Andretti squad, and again, another great find for New Zealand. Then of course the other two drivers, the two Scots, both in the GMR Grand Prix and what we've seen so far in IndyCar qualifying. Dixon, he clearly likes this place. He needs to convert something this year, needs a strong finish. So much pressure put on him after last year, but at the end of the day, it will be what it will be. And as so many said, this place decides the fate of so many. As for McLaughlin, qualified pretty well. I think there's more to come in there. It's a good place to be. The yellow car looks quite good. The conditions here have been all over the place, but the forecast for the next week up here, for those of you that are interested, it's just going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. So race day could be quite hot, and that will play itself out. Temperatures quite different to, say, New Zealand, where it peaks at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So in that period where the races, the temperature will just be building. It won't be hot. It will be building across the afternoon. So there's plenty to come in that part of the gig. So today, final part of qualifying, Dixon in for the top 12 and maybe the top 6 from there. Rest of the field set other than the back row. So what can we say about the back row? Certainly dominated by Rahal cars at the moment. The only Rahal car that's in is Catherine Legg, who strangely enough is the additional entry for this round, and then the 3 full-time entries of Lundgaard, Harvey and Rahal are facing themselves, fighting it off with Stingray Robb for that final position. One of those guys is going to end up going home later in the week, and there'll be more about that on our Facebook page, so you'll be able to catch up about that. The big thing that I think is flying under the radar is the job that RC Enerson and Able Motorsport have done. RC's in the show, got in there, and he was the 34th entry into the thing, and everyone's going, oh, well, that'll be the one that goes home because of the lack of prep time they've had. Well, he's in, and now one of these big names, or possibly Stingray Robb, could go home. Lots of scenarios that could play out. If Graham didn't make the show, do they try and buy their way in? Do they offload some sponsorship onto the Dale Coyne's Stingray Robb supported car? They offload it onto other cars. many things have happened here over the past when a car hasn't made the field. Who will it be? I really don't know. I do hope that it's not Stingray Rob, because I just think this young kid deserves to be in there. He was as nervous as yesterday, so let's see if he can get in the show today. Other than that, it's been a great week up here, meeting so many of the crew guys for the documentary Kiwis Born to Fly. The guys at McLaren, Ganassi, Andretti, just can't say enough about them. Brendan Keith Beck, Anton and Blair Julian, Ziggy of course, let alone all the others that we've met. So supportive of the project. Guys, if you're watching this, I really thank you for it. It's hopefully going to tell the story of what New Zealanders can do and what New Zealanders do in the sport of motorsport, and here in the NTT IndyCar series and the greater series as well. So really looking forward to that. It's been a big week. We've got many more things to come. Sitting down with McLaughlin this week. Already talked with Dixon and Armstrong and McElrea, and they've been great. But this week we catch up with Jacob Douglas and of course Scott McLaughlin, all for the show. So you'll be able to see that on Sky Sport later this year, exclusively in New Zealand. And that's just the way it has to be as part of our licensing agreement. But I'm sure for New Zealand viewers, it will be an insight to that, and to the sponsoring partners that we have. Again, thank you so much for that. But I'm pumped about today. I know someone's going to go home, and that's really sad, and someone's going to go home US 100 grand richer for winning the pole for the 107th race. But then a week from today, it is that race. It's an open field. It's a very open field. McLaren and Chevy looking very strong, but equally Ganassi and Honda looking equally strong. And then the one that maybe slips under the radar again is the fact that there are two AJ Foyt entries in the top 12. Regardless of what happens today, they're in the top 12. Who would have thought that maybe 12 months ago when they were struggling to get there? So Ferrucci and Pedersen doing a great job. Michael Cannon, formerly the engineer for Scott Dixon, now on that AJ Foyt squad. So I'm wondering whether that's made a difference. There's so many layers and so many stories here. And as I said, the Kiwis are playing a big part of that. It's a pleasure to be on IMS radio the other day and talk with them about what we do with the Motorsport New Zealand Elite Academy and how grateful they are to publicise that for us over the IMS radio platform. So it goes to thousands or millions of listeners on that. So I'm really grateful to Craig Pollock and the team for having me again as a guest on that, and just waving the flag for New Zealand in a media sense, if you like, as well. But this place, this is my 21st visit to this place, and it gets into you. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Very thankful for the late Larry Rice bringing me here first of all in 1996, and it's just become a way of life for me. And I hope again that the documentary portrays just what a magic racetrack this is, what a magic place this is, and what a great job the Kiwis are doing. So it's a little bit of an abbreviated racing world for you this week. Lots to come. There'll be lots and lots of daily updates on our Facebook page, so that's the best way of getting to it at the moment. We're catching up with various people. We'll try and post some things. I did catch up with Dixon and talk to him about aero and the differences that aerodynamics are making for the race and for qualifying. It was at a media conference the other day, so here's a quick snippet from that before I go. Aimed mainly now at Scott. With the extra aerodynamic package that IndyCar have allowed for the 500 this year, are you noticing a difference either by yourself or in traffic out there?
I don't think the conditions are really, I think some people have tried all of the bits. I'm not a big fan of, adding a bunch of downforce. I think it makes it a little bit easier for the lesser cars. So I think in our scenario, it'd be better not to have it. But the adjustment, I think, is pretty massive this year, especially if, you decide to run all the rear wing. Like it's a lot of downforce. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think, once we get to some hotter conditions, then you may see that play more of a factor. But yeah, I thought last year, this place is meant to be difficult. So, I'm never a fan of making things easier. Well, I really like being able to talk to Scott. He's always upfront and honest, and the whole Ganassi squad are as well. And so are so many of them. So, I'm really grateful for that inner sanctum that these guys allow me to be part of. It's very, very special, and it's something very dear to my heart. So as I said, it's a bit of an abbreviated show this week, but we're here and there's plenty more to come. Check out the Facebook page. Updates will be there, and the other media outlets that are supporting us in New Zealand. Very grateful for the support that comes from you, because you help spread the message for me, and I just want to be part of spreading the message, full stop. So
Thank you to everyone, and we'll see you again next week at the 107th running of the Indy 500 here on Racing World.